Just real nice. Real nice.
Oh yeah, it's time for another episode of Urbex. Welcome to Auburn, New York, and welcome to the Fingerlakes Mall. Welcome to one of the weirdest and most visually impressive malls I've ever been to. Let me just start off by saying I have so many thoughts on this place that I don't even know if I'm going to be able to cover the entire history of the mall in this video, but I'm going to attempt to at any rate. The Fingerlakes Mall was developed by the Pyramid Company of Syracuse, New York in 1980. The mall originally featured Chappell's, JCPenney, Kmart, and Sears as its anchor stores. There was also a theater and, of all things, a roller skating arena. I've never heard of or seen a mall that ever had a roller skating arena in it. The mall would see changes in 1994 when it would lose Chappell's and shortly after Kmart. The loss of these anchors would cause the mall to begin to lose many of its inline tenants. And by the late 90s, it was only 45% occupied. Peebles would soon replace the Chappells, but not for long, as it would close a little while after opening, later becoming Manhattan 101 and then Steve & Barry's. By 2003, things were looking good for the mall, as it was at an 80% occupancy. Finally, in 2004, new life would be breathed into the former Kmart when a Bass Pro Shops would open. Unfortunately, in September of 2012, the Finger Lakes Theater would close its doors forever. Except I could have swore that when I visited back in February of 2020, the theater was actually open and operating, based on the lettering that was on the marquee, and you'll see it later on in the video. Unfortunately, with Sears struggling, it would close in 2014, leaving the mall with another vacant anchor. Unfortunately, with Sears struggling, it would close in 2014, leaving the mall with another vacant anchor. The final blow to the mall would come on June 4th, 2020, when it was announced that the JCPenney would be closing its doors by October 18th of 2020, as a part of a plan to close 150 stores nationwide, which means the Bass Pro Shops is the only current remaining anchor. And I guess if you're going to have one remaining anchor, a Bass Pro Shops is, very appropriate for this area since we are kind of out in a small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere, right by the Finger Lakes National Forest. So now that we have the history out of the way, let's go inside the mall and I'll give you all of my thoughts on this place. Because visually, this place is stunning. And not from a modern standpoint, but from a vintage standpoint. The first oddity I saw was this sign on the door, and I was just like, that's weird. Well, that is until I walked inside the mall and I saw this other sign, and I was like, wait, they really let you walk your dog around the mall? And I guess the idea here was that it gets so brutally cold in the wintertime up here, because we are in northern New York, right up by the Great Lakes, that it was best to take your dog to the mall and walk it around. According to what I've heard, they've since stopped allowing dogs inside the mall. But this brings us to the fountain in front of the JCPenney. If you've seen Ace's Adventures video on this mall, then you'll recall the fountain was colored blue. I don't know why they stopped doing this, but it's always great to see a fountain, in working condition and operating. And if one fountain isn't enough eye candy to make your head explode, well, then how about two fountains? This one completely different from the other one, and I love the fact that they did that, because a lot of malls, when they have fountains at the anchor stores, they're just duplicates of one another, but nope, these are completely different. Like I said earlier, this is the final remaining anchor at the Fingerlakes Mall, so let's go inside and see how this Bass Pro Shop compares to some of the other ones I've been to. Well, at least they have their staple, the giant fish tank. And there is a waterfall, like, right above where I'm at. I don't think I've ever seen a Bass Pro Shops that doesn't have one of these. And I do like them. Because what store can you go into and see live fish like this? And here's a look at that waterfall with the fish display. Well, over in this part of the Bass Pro, you can see they have this giant boat up there on the ceiling and an airplane, complete with rotating propeller. So I think that's something that I haven't seen in other Bass Pro Shops. Alright, so I'm in this Bass Pro Shop that's connected to the mall, and I was expecting it to be bonkers, like all the other Bass Pro Shops that I've been to. I mean, to be fair, we're not in a very populated area, but still, it's kind of underwhelming. Another thing to make note, this Bass Pro Shops is small compared to all of the ones I've been to. I really wish this store had been opened when I visited, because I would have loved going in here. I love going into these old toy stores or comic stores, because they have all kinds of figurines and collectibles and great stuff to put inside of a YouTube studio. I also wanted to give props to whoever decided to put all these Tiffany lights throughout the mall. These are really awesome, and they're completely different. So you might be thinking, oh, come on, this is just some vending machines, until, wait, look at this signage. That's amazing. I don't think I've ever seen signage that cool for just regular old vending machines. You're going to see a hidden staircase momentarily, and you're probably wondering, what is up there? I think that goes up to like offices or something. I can't remember, but I do remember I couldn't go up there. Welcome to the most amazing food court you'll ever see in a small town mall. I'm always thrilled when I find architecture that's completely different, wacky, and unusual, because, in today's world, I'm so tired of everything just being so bland and boring. It all looks the same. But here, they went with, kind of like a village theme, with all the different storefronts being the, town shops and whatnot. It's just, like, just take a minute to take it all in. Here we have the cinema, which I reported closed back in 2012, but I mean, if I look at the marquee here, it looks like it might be open, but then again, when I visited, I don't think it was actually open, but then, I kind of came early in the day before most of the stuff in the mall opened. A lot of the places in this mall open later in the day because it's a small town and they don't get a whole lot of business. Even though I wasn't an 80s kid and I was born in the 90s, seeing an old arcade like this with all the neon lights just makes me smile. It's like, meeting an old friend. You get to go in and enjoy yourself, play some games, have some inexpensive entertainment. Thank you for joining me on this journey as we took a look at the Fingerlakes Mall here in Auburn, New York. This was actually a very pleasant trip to this mall, because you expect when you go into smaller towns, they usually harass you for going inside and filming, because what better do they have to do? But I didn't have anyone that bothered me. They just left me alone, and it was really a pleasant surprise, and I enjoyed visiting this mall. So if you'd like to come and explore this mall and see it for yourself, I would highly recommend coming and seeing it. It's pretty cool. With the fountains and that kind of village-looking food court, the theater looked amazing. If I had more time, I would definitely have checked out a movie in that theater. It looked awesome. So thank you for joining me, and head on over to patreon.com/tiltedtripodmedia, where you can become a member and help support the future of video by joining for as little as $1, and you'll reap all the benefits of being a member. Then you need to head on over to my YouTube channel, where you can hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon to stay up to date on all the latest things happening here at Tilted Tripod Media. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.